All right. So before I move on with the course, I wanted to clarify a few things that you're probably confused about because I know I was confused when I was first learning about unit testing. So the thing that I want to clarify is that Dagger is not actually used for unit testing, or at least not usually. So I'm sure that you've heard the term before, like you should always learn Dagger if you're going to do unit testing. Doing unit testing doesn't really make sense if you don't use Dagger. These kind of things are pretty common, I think, if you search Google and you look around for blogs and things like that. But it's kind of misleading because you're not actually using Dagger for the unit testing, at least not normally, like I said. Technically, you could like mock the components and mock like your modules and things like that, but this is not the common thing to do. I think it's a pretty big misconception, and I hear people say that kind of thing all the time. And it's not really practical to do that. It's not really practical to mock the components, mock the modules. Like you can, but it's a lot of work, and it's not necessarily a lot of payoff. And I also want to clarify something. So what you're probably thinking when you're thinking about using Dagger with unit tests is, just inject the dependencies into your test classes and instead of mocking objects or something like that. And you can't do that, obviously, because with Dagger, you need to define what you're going to be injecting these things into when you build the components. And by default, you can't just inject into a test class, obviously. You have to build it in a way such that it could be injected into that particular test class. So like I said, it just like all overall, you could do it because but you'd have to build a mock component. You have to build all the mock modules, and it's just not like, I don't really see the big payoff there. So now I want to explain kind of why people are saying that you should know Dagger before you doing unit testing, after explaining that it's probably not what you think. So I still think that using Dagger in your projects is good for unit testing overall because it forces you to build your applications in a certain way. So if you use Dagger, the recommended way to do dependency injection in like your repository layer or your view model layer is to do constructor injection. And if you do constructor injection, you know basically exactly what's needed for that class. And that's where the payoff is. It basically forces you to structure your code in a way that makes unit testing easier. And that's the punchline, basically. So that's why you're going to want to use Dagger for unit testing. It forces you to structure your code in a way that is easy to unit test. And I just want to clarify that before moving forward. This is a pretty short video, and I'm going to end it here. So now in the next one, if you're watching the course on my website, my unit testing course, the next video is we're going to start setting up the database tables for the room persistence library.